My bad. Welcome to another edition of Becoming a Pro Bassist. Sorry about that. So, if you are just joining us for the first time, we have gone too far. So, I advise that you go back and check the previous videos on my YouTube channel. Just check the playlist. You see the number of videos I've done in the past, and I advise you not to skip a step. Please, if you have not started initially, please go back and watch those videos. They will help you a lot. So now this video, we are going to be learning more about scales, not just the notes. So what is a musical scale? A musical scale is just a combination of notes. Yes, it's a combination of notes that gives a line of melody. Yeah, within that scale we have different types of scales, obviously, but we'll be looking at the most common scale, or let me say the most important scale in music, what we mostly refer to as the tonic solfas. Yes. Now, um, these scales, this is what we call the major scale of music. For example, now, if we're on a particular key, because some people are very like, I've I've come across a lot of people who get confused when we talk about keys, and when we talk about number systems, and when we talk about musical notes, sonic software notation. Sorry, I wanted to say Sonic the Hedgehog. Remind me. So now, when we talk about musical keys, remember that's what we have been building the foundation on. Yes, the musical keys, everything that has to do with the musical keys, A to G, and then we have those are the natural keys. Then we have the accidental keys, which are either the sharps or the flats, depending on how we refer to them. I've already explained that in the past videos. You can check my playlist. You see the video which I explained that. Now, when we talk about software notations, I know most of us are common with that, especially people that are into music. Even people that are not into music, even if they can't actually sing it well to the right note, we actually know do re mi fa sol la ti do. I'm sure we all know that. Now that is the most common scale in music. That is the basic scale of music, let me say, because that scale actually covers the major, how do I put it, yes, it actually covers the natural keys within the scale of a particular key. It actually covers the natural notes. Actually, let me put it this way: it covers the natural notes within the scale of a particular key. Now let me explain that. For example, let's say I'm on the key of C. This is my C. If you are not able to identify a key, I advise that you go back to my previous videos and check my explanation on that. So remember that this third string now is our A string. So the next note here is our A sharp or B flat, then our B, and after B we have a C. So this is my C. So now from my C, let's say we are dealing with the key of C now. We are singing a song on the key of C. Do we give you glory, Lord, as we honor you. That is the key of C, right? Now, how do I know the positioning of my tonic surface on this particular key of C? Now, first of all, what are the, how do I put this now? What are the we are going to use, I'm using the key of C because it's going to give us a basic foundation of this, and whatever we understand on the key of C, we can relate it to any other key. Are we together? Now, on the key of C, why do you think a keyboard started with the key of C? That is for the keyboardist to answer though, but it's still relative actually. So it's easier to understand this on the key of C before we try it out on any other key. Now, this is my do. Remember I said something from my previous video. The first note on a particular key is the do. Yes, and that we call it the one. That's where number system comes in. So some people mix number systems a lot. You see some professionals playing, and then maybe the person leading the band will be like one, one 2 3 2 3 4 5, something like that. 2 3 1 4 mi re do fa. It's just the number system that person is using at that point. Our 1 is our do, our 2 is our re, our 3 is our what, mi, our 4 is our fa, 5 is our so, 6 is our la, and 7 is our T, and back to 1 again, which is like 8. That is on a new octave. Is our do on a new octave. So that is basically what the number system is all about. Now, if I say 1, which is my C, which is my do on C. If I say 2, it doesn't mean you are playing the immediate note after it. No, you are going a full. Yeah, we are going a full tone. Now let me explain the concept of semitones and full tones when as related to tonic solfas. Now, just as we have in our musical keys, remember I said something that between each key A to B there's a full tone, meaning that there's an accidental between it. That's why we have from A, we have A sharp or B flat before we have B. Then I said something that it is only between B and C and E and F that we don't have a full tone. That is, there's no note between them. They are consecutive. After B is our C, after E is our F. So remember I said something like that. Now, I'm going to explain that relating it to our solfa notations. It's very similar to this, because in other cases we have spaces between every key apart from B and C and E and F. So those are the only 2 cases. Similarly to our solfa notations, that's why I said I'm using the key of C to explain this. On the key of C, you are going to notice that you only have major natural keys along the scale of C. C is the most natural key. That's why I'm using this to explain this, and that is why on the keyboard we have our keyboard. The first key on the keyboard is a C, and even when you are learning the keyboard, you discover that it's easier to learn on the C because you only have to deal with the white keys as you are playing only the major. Though you might see some advanced people, when they play on C you feel that they are not playing on C because what they play, but for the basics everything you need is on the white keys on the keyboard for your key of C for the major notes. So that is why I'm trying to explain this using the key of C. Now on our bass guitar, now you can see where my finger is on do on C. My re is now my, remember that from C we move to what, D. So take note of that. My re is now my D. If I'm dealing with the key of C, my re is going to be my D. My mi will be my what, E. So we have do re mi is like saying C D E, C D E. Now I'm going to first of all deal with this on just a single string before I explain it on when I'm going up the string. So now let me just play the full scale so you can see. Sorry, let me use just one finger so that you can see what I'm doing when I'm positioning my finger. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, sol, fa, mi, re, do. Now what do you notice? From my do to my re, there was a full tone. Do, re, you can see that there's a space between. This note between is my what? C sharp. So you can see that do, re, mi. So between do and re, there's a full tone. Between re and mi, there's another full tone. Now, but going from mi now, mi, fa, you can see that from mi to fa, there is no space. Mi, fa, mi, fa, fa, mi, fa. That is to tell you that there's a semitone there. And if relating it back to our keys, remember that I said our C, do re mi is what? C D E. And remember on our keys, immediately after E we have our F, right? After E is F, which is a semitone. And you can see it here. From mi we move to fa, which is also a semitone. Then from fa to so there's a full tone because there's a note between. Fa so. So our so happens to be our G now, because after our F there's a space between F and G, which is F sharp, or we can say G flat. Most times we say F sharp. That's what we are familiar with. Before moving to our G is our so. So then between our so and la there's another full tone. That means there's a space between. So that's what we call moving from G to A now. So A now gives us our la on the key of what? E. Please take note of that. On the key of C, sorry. On the key of C, our A serves as our la. So la. Then our T between. Let me play so you can see. La. So la between so and la. G A G A. So from A now, remember that there's a full tone between A and B. So from A we'll go to B. A T. So our B gives us our T, and from B back to C there is no space. It is a what? Semitone. So from T to do now. T do. You see that there's a semitone. That's why I'm using the key of C to explain this, because it is very relative to how the keys are arranged too. C is a natural key because all the notes on the scale of C are natural notes. So our do re mi fa sol la ti do is what? C D E F G A B C. You see that I did not call any sharp, I did not call any flat along the way. So it is very easy to understand these solfa notations using our key of C. So now instead of playing this going down going on a single string, let me play it along a minimum number of fretboards. I'm just going to be using this range. So I'll be going down, I'll be going up the fret instead of going up the string. Let me go up the fret to make it easy. So now remember that, okay, remember that I said this is do re. Now we don't have to come all this way to play our mi that far. How can we look for mi on the next string? That is on the second string. Now we are on the third string. Remember, that's where we started from. Do re. So how do we find our mi on this string now? Now it's just simple. Remember that this is C D E. Our E is our what? Our E is our mi. So let's come to the second string and look for our E. Remember that this second string is our D string, and after D we have our D sharp or E flat, and after our E flat or D sharp we have our E. That gives us a solution. So instead of playing do re mi, we can play do re mi, do re mi, do re mi. Instead of do re mi, instead of going all the way down, do re mi fa and then going that way, you can just maintain this. And once we know our mi here, it has given us an edge to know where our fa is, because we know that immediately after mi is fa, because it's a semitone, mi fa, and from fa to so is a full tone, so we are giving a space. So do re mi fa so. So once you get this, you can start exercising with this, since we have done some exercises on our fingers. Do re mi fa so, fa mi re, do re mi fa so, fa mi re, do re mi fa so, fa mi re, do. So that is an exercise for you. I want you to try that out. Now let's get the remaining notes on the last string. Now instead of playing do re mi fa sol la, coming here to play our la ti do, we can locate our la on the first string now. So our la, remember our la is our A, right? Because we said C D E F G A. A is our la. So where is our A on this first string? Remember that the open string is our G. Then we have our G sharp or A flat. Then we have our A. That solves it. So do re mi fa sol la, do re mi fa sol la, do re mi fa sol la. So immediately after our la, there's a semitone. Sorry, after our la, there's a full tone between la and ti. Remember, because la is A, and from A to B, there's a full tone. So that means we are giving a space from la ti do, do re mi fa sol la ti do ti la sol fa mi re do. That is our scale downwards. Instead of do re mi fa sol la ti do, do re mi fa sol la ti do. Now this already is an assignment for you to go and practice with. I believe that seeing this, it should give you the urge to go and exercise your fingers using this. I will see you in the next video.